Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Q2 product launch event. My name is Alex Kramer. I am the VP of Product and Engineering here at eBacon. And today we're going to walk you through a lot of our really awesome new releases that we've done in the last 3 months. So you're going to see a bunch of stuff. Some of these items you're already going to have access to, and some of these items are in beta. And if there's anything you see that you don't quite know how to get to quite yet, reach out to your customer service rep or email support@ebacon.com, and we'd be happy to get you set up or show you how to use the product. So today we're gonna have we're gonna go through a lot of different things. We're gonna have our product management team walk through a bunch of different features. We want to show off our new reporting module. We're going to show you a lot of changes that we've made to payroll and time and attendance. We're going to go over some really awesome new human resources tools to help run your business. We're going to give you a quick preview of our new software solution called JobSite, which helps connect construction field employees to the back office. And we're going to show you off some of our new 401k and friend features. Before we get started showing off all those cool features, though, I'm going to kick it over to Jack Biltis. Jack is the president and founder of eBacon, and he's going to say a little bit about eBacon and where we're going. Jack?
Hey, everybody. I appreciate everybody jumping on. So we started the company 22 years ago. And for a long time, we were mostly focused on everything payroll and HR, payroll, health insurance, workers' comp, 401k. About 8 years ago, we started focusing very heavily on construction and prevailing wage jobs for any type of, especially any kind of construction or company doing any job that's getting any type of government funding and has to deal with all the types of rates and calculations and reporting required with on the federal side, the law is called Davis-Bacon, and some of the blue states have their own laws called prevailing wages. So we've really focused on that hot and heavy in the last couple of years, last 8 years, but also kept our core business of just general payroll and employer services for all types of different industries. So the theme for the release today is really two things. We've got a lot of feedback from customers that have said that they really want to have as much control over a lot of things that we've done in the past for them. They want to be able to, from a beach, be able to modify their jobs and get into additional reporting and do more things on time and attendance and have their employees have even more access in the 401k. So most of our features are focused on just that, basically taking a system that was already very available and open to clients and employees and making it more so. You're going to see a lot of features that are very that increase the client self-service and employee self-service pieces of it, and we're adding more and more of that so you guys can have total control of the system. Obviously, we're still there for you to help guide through the way, but we definitely want you guys to be able to manage what you need to at all hours of the night. The second piece, which is I think even more exciting, is we're going to touch on a new direction that we're adding, which is our JobSite product. And what that does is as we've added a lot more construction companies, we've focused, as I mentioned before, on companies that are doing government jobs or government funded jobs that have to deal with all this regulation, the Davis-Bacon and prevailing wage regulation. But since we're already helping our clients deal with all things related to having employees, all the different products that I mentioned, time and attendance and HR and things like that, we realize that a lot of clients have asked us for ways to help manage their business better and ways to manage their actual job sites better, which is the name of the new product that we're launching called JobSite. That really gets into the heart of actually, for the business owner, keeping track of their entirety of the job. We're going to show you right now from being able to manage all the notes and pictures and documents related to a job, whether it's blueprints or things for a job, and we're expanding over the next couple quarters into enhancing our scheduling system and allowing businesses to manage all their subs and all the things that happen in a job and change orders and all that stuff. So there'll be more of that coming along the way, but we wanted to give you at least a taste of some of the things that we've added, because we've again heard from our clients it's not enough to just help them manage their employees. They're struggling to manage their actual business and their jobs, and we want to give you one seamless place to just manage everything from soup to nuts. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Alex.
Awesome, thank you, Jack. And just one logistical thing here, feel free to ask questions in the question tab inside of GoToWebinar. We will have a Q&A part at the end, but if you do have any questions that are related to what you're about to see, feel free to just throw this out there and I will ask them at the end of each person's part. So the next person I'm going to kick it over to here is Adria Reese. Adria is our product manager for reporting of benefits, and she's going to spend some time today talking to you about our new reporting solution and what's coming down the pipeline. So Adria, kick it off and go ahead.
Hey everyone, welcome and thank you again for joining our webinar. Like Alex said, my name is Adria Reese. I focus primarily on reporting and benefits, and I wanted to share some significant updates that we're making to our custom reporting software. So let's start when you can expect to see these changes. We're going to have an internal release and some training in late August. That way your CSRs will be able to assist you with any questions that you have. Then by mid-September, clients will be able to use the new report screens. A couple things to note with these updates. First of all, your actual reports are not changing. You can still run everything with the same parameters and get the same reports that you currently do. The data itself is not going to be any different. Secondly, you'll still be able to access the current report screen after the update. So in your menu, you'll see two reporting icons for some time while we collect your feedback and iron out any issues that we come across. I highly encourage you to utilize the new report screens as often as you can. That way we're able to get your thoughts and make improvements ASAP. Finally, we're going to continue to enhance and add new features to the reporting system throughout the rest of 2024. Now let's discuss some of the opportunities for improvement that we've seen within our current reporting system. Some of them are listed here on the slide. We have unclear parameter inputs, unhelpful report descriptions, a huge amount of reports. And then as far as custom reports, any customization that you may need, you have to either contact your CSR or you have to export it into Excel so that you can manipulate it. Creating custom reports, our builder is a little non-linear and can be confusing to set up. So the combination of all these things results in it being difficult for you to find the report you really need when you need it. Putting in a ticket with your CSR to help you find or even create reports can take unnecessary time. And then once you find your report, you may add it to your list of favorites that you still have to sift through to find the one. Now, our new reporting screens are designed to solve these problems. Reports will be consolidated in a new report library, so this will drastically reduce the number of reports that you have to scroll through. We've also enhanced the search and sorting capabilities so that you can get the report you need instantly. We've updated the report descriptions to give you more context about each report so you know what's relevant and when. And our biggest upgrade for you is going to be the ability to edit copies of existing reports. So this will give you the power to select, hide, organize data however you need it, and I'll show you more about that in a few minutes. First, I want to show you the current report screen. Here, all of your reporting tools are kind of crammed onto one page. On the left, we have our entire catalog of over 300 reports. There's a little blue search bar at the top that can be easily missed. Notice all of the similarly named reports and redundant descriptions here in the allocation category. You have to scroll through all of those, and meanwhile, there's nothing really going on the right side of the screen. And in case you weren't aware, there is a big red plus button at the bottom, and that is actually how you access our custom reports. On the other hand, our new report library screen, we could get the slide. There we go. The new report library screen, starting from the top, I want to point out some things. So we have a clearly labeled custom reports button. For now, this is just going to open directly to our current custom report list and builder, but this will eventually be replaced by our customization tools. Next, the search bar is much more prominent. It'll show you the number of results based on your search, and you can actually use this to search by report name, report description, or by view, which I'll get into later. And this one is a big deal. We've added different sorting options to help you find reports that are relevant to you. So there on the left side, we have a category and a toggle. And clicking that toggle will actually open up a last run sort. So you can actually sort all of the reports in the library by when you last ran reports or by category, whichever is more relevant to you. And clicking any of the blue titles in those sorts will automatically scroll the results directly to that section for you. You'll also find that some similar reports have been consolidated in the list. So now reports will be modes of more generic reports. So for example, like we have a half a dozen workers' comp reports currently, and they'll be consolidated into one workers' comp report, and you'll be able to select different outputs for premiums, payroll, audits, and costs, but it cuts down the space there it's taking on the report library. Now, with these changes, we've also decided to remove the ability to favorite reports. Being able to favorite reports has been a treatment of a symptom without really addressing the real issue, which is obviously the amount of reports that you have to look at. When viewing your favorite reports in the current system, you may still have to scroll through 10, 20, 50, or even more results. And now that we're streamlining the list of reports, we believe you'll actually be able to find your reports much easier, especially ones that you run routinely. Moving on to report parameters. In the current screen, parameters are a little disorganized. Sometimes there's confusion about what inputs mean what because the labels aren't standard or they're not clear, and there's no help text kind of describing what everything does. In addition, they're kind of just thrown on the page with no real flow, rhyme, or reason. The new report parameter screen is going to be a dedicated page that can be reached by clicking any of those report titles in the report library. So a few things to note here. We've added grouping to organize related parameters. That means all the dates will be with all the dates, job information will all be together, and so on. Each group has captions that will give you any extra information or instructions to help you fill it out. These groups will pop in from top to bottom. So if you enter a mode, or if you select a mode that includes employee information, for example, then the employee parameters will drop in afterwards. It kind of creates a nice logical fill from top to bottom flow that we're kind of used to using the web. You can also see that labels are clear and standardized across all the inputs, so there's no question on if you're going to be using a check date or a weekend date, for example. Lastly, any of the required fields for the report will be clearly indicated, and they'll turn red if you try to run the report without making a selection, as you can see at the bottom. So our new screen is going to show, our current report screen shows all of the results in the right side panel of the report screen. So you don't really get the full browser width. All the reports are still showing on the left. So we kind of recognize that this constrained viewing space might make it difficult to look at data effectively, especially if you're looking at a report that has a lot of columns. So it makes more sense to export the results to Excel, where you can also manipulate your data. We solved that on our new report results screen. You can see all of the results there on the page. It takes up the full browser width. Looking at the top, we also gave you a search bar so that you can search your results. You can export your results still. And we have an intuitive tabbed navigation between the views, which I will be getting to. Reports that currently export as PDF, just a note here, you'll still be able to see that here on the view. It'll just replace the table, search bar, and then the 2 buttons at the right. So it's still going to look exactly the same. We've also added some clickable breadcrumbs at the top left of the page. That's where it says library, parameters, and report. This will allow you to quickly go back to the parameters of the library if you need to change anything or look something else up. And here on the right side, we have a brand new customize button, which will slide open a panel of customization options that you can apply directly to a copy of your report without having to export it. So kind of walking through the options here, you can edit a title and description so that you can save this copy for later use. You can reorder, rename, hide, and even add in dozens of additional columns linked to the stock report. This will be extremely helpful if you have exports or if you just need to see more relevant data. As an example, say this invoice allocation report that we're looking at right now has an employee column, and that only shows you the name. But if you wanted to add in any relevant employee information, such as employment type, hire date, etc., you will be able to add those in there yourself. We also gave you the option to apply some advanced filtering logic to your results. So this is a step further from the parameters. You can apply all kinds of filters so you can get the results you really want. You can sort by multiple columns at a time, like you can in Excel. You can also group and summarize your data. So as you go through and make these changes, the changes will all be highlighted and recorded, and you can actually revert them at any point before you save. So if you just want to mess around in here and kind of play around without having to save anything, that's totally up to you and it's totally allowed. All of this can be done inside your browser instead of having to wait on your CSRs and our development team. For example, if you just need to add a couple columns or change a header to match your custom exports. You'll be able to build your report exactly how you need it and rerun it without recreating or reapplying those customizations as often as you want. So a note on the views, the customized copies are going to be called views, and they'll be added to the report result tab navigation, like you saw on the previous screen and like you can see at the bottom of this slide. So a couple things to note. The stock report, our existing eBacon reports, they'll always be read-only and you'll always be able to see them there on the first tab. And that's just to keep them clean. You can create as many copies as you want off of them. They're there for you to change up if you need. You can rerun these views easily, and it's a really simple process for if you need something that you need to run more and more often. So just to wrap up these changes, I've included this comparison to highlight kind of the differences between the old and new system. You can see the clutter and ambiguity of all of the reports there on the left. And you can see how this is kind of solved on the right side with the report library and view tabs. All of these invoice allocation reports, for example, have been consolidated into one invoice allocation report, and you can create all of the different variations as views when you need them, just by clicking on the smaller blue subtitles on the invoice allocation report card or by changing the tabs. So in conclusion, just a reminder, you can look forward to these new screens in September, and we'll start internal training in late August. And thank you for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adria. And one of the big important pieces of this is that we're really hoping that almost every report that you have access to now as a customer is now a custom report effectively. So you'll be able to make those changes, manipulate the reports as you need to for your business without having to wait on us to make those changes for you or create new reports. The ability to do that will help you with third-party exports and a lot of other areas too. So we're really looking forward to those changes, and this has been something we've been working on really hard to make it more clear and easy for you to use. So the next person I'm going to kick it over to here is Courtney Davis. So Courtney is our product manager for payroll and time and attendance, and she's going to be going through a lot of changes. We have a lot of really awesome things to show you on the payroll and time and attendance side. So Courtney, I'm going to kick it off and throw it over to you.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Thanks again so much for joining us today. As Alex mentioned, I'm Courtney Davis, the product manager of our payroll and time and attendance services. I may have worked with some of you in the past as an implementation manager or spoken to you on different occasions about features we've done over the past couple of years. Just a little background about myself. I've worked in certified payroll for over 6 years before coming to eBacon. I was a payroll manager at a construction company and actually implemented with eBacon. So I understand the role of being a client myself, and I think with that experience and now being a product manager, it helps me to create features to try to make your lives a little easier. So I want to go over our main focuses for this quarter that our team did. We wanted to look at these 3 areas, so job setup updates, time and attendance. We call that Sidewinder if you haven't heard that term, and how to make easier, how to approve your own payrolls. We wanted to look at those areas and see how we can make improvements to help you navigate the system easier. And like Jack said, more for you to be able to control these things, so you not having to reach out to your CSR. We wanted to make it clear how to set up a prevailing job. We moved into putting more useful information into our time and attendance system. And then lastly, making a change again to how we process and approve our payrolls. As Alex mentioned, some of these features you've probably already seen in our system, but I do want to make sure that everything is explained to why we created it and how it works. So jumping into job setup updates. The first enhancement to job setup was adding a wizard to create a job. And the focus here was when setting up a certified job, it would allow for you to fill in the most important information for the job to be set up successful and not have you have errors when you get to the part of processing your payroll. The job setup wizard allows you to put in what kind of prevailing type of job it is, the determination, and to set up your certified payroll report information. So if this is all filled out during the time you set up your job, this will help decrease errors that may occur on your payroll screen. The newest feature to this screen, though, is showing you what rates are on that particular determination. So this was a big request from many clients over the years that I've heard. They don't know, you guys don't know what rates we have in our system. And so now when you go to choose a determination, it will show you the rate for your a certain apprentice level, the shift rate as well. And if you don't see an apprentice level on that screen, then that lets you know that we don't have that in the system. I would encourage you to please reach out to your CSR and your service representative and make sure that you let them know that those need to be added. It also allows you to see if there's any increases that we are missing as well on those rates. We just want to be completely upfront with what rates we have in the system so that you don't have to figure that out once you get to your payroll processing. Job setup to do. So job setup to do is we understand that you may not have all of the information when you're first setting up a job. So you may not have the determination right in front of you, but you need to set up a job in the system so your employees can start clocking in and out already. And what this does, what the job setup to do does is it's going to allow you to see on your job setup screen, the main screen, that this job is not complete for a certified job, a prevailing job. So it's going to indicate to you in that red screen there that this job may need a county, a determination, a certified payroll report, and you need to go back into that job and complete the setup. Another to-do that will populate is if you choose a California DIR report or a Washington L&I report, those do require a first reporting week and a project number. So if you don't have those on your job to begin with, and you go to upload those, you're going to get an error. So again, this is trying to save you time when you're setting up your job so that you don't have to go back and do that later on. Next up is the job setup rework. So really what we did here is we just wanted to make this a lot more cohesive, the job setup screen. We moved some tabs around, we created some new tabs. There was old information that was in there that it was no longer relevant to job setups. So we just wanted to make this a lot more easier to find out what you need to set up your job and where those are. Another thing that we added on here are descriptions. So if you hover over any of those columns, if they have a line, it'll tell you what those areas or what those columns do within our system. So something like job address is going to be on your certified payroll report and your DAS forms. We're continuously adding information into those columns. So if you don't see something underlined at this moment in time, we will be getting to that during this quarter. Another thing we added, I'm sorry, go back one slide, is the determination history. So that was kind of the last piece here. This really helps to see who has added or voided a determination and the date of when it happened. And this is useful for you because we've had in the past where a determination has changed, maybe it wasn't set up correctly, or maybe you have multiple users setting up jobs, and the determination needs to change at some point during your project, and you never knew what was actually the history of the determination, and now this allows you to do that, and you don't have to reach out to your CSR anymore for that. So now moving on to time and attendance. We've added a lot more warnings and errors into Sidewinder to show things that are happening in real time. As soon as your employee punches to a job or a task, if that job is not set up correctly, then you can receive warnings or errors. Currently, those have been more in the payroll screen, so this allows you to be able to do this before you actually get to the payroll process, which will save you time during that process. The new errors are things like a no state determination set up for an apprenticeship contract. So if you're a part of an apprenticeship council and you need to have a state determination on a federal project for training rates to come in, or it's on a private job and you need your apprentice rates to come in, you may receive an error, and that indicates that you need to look at that job and add that. No determination for a prevailing job. This could be that there is actually not a determination on the job itself, or that we don't have the apprentice level or shift set up in our system in the back end. So again, this would be an indicator to go look at your determination that you've chosen on the job, check the rates, and then if we don't have that, you can get in contact with your CSR to get those added. Another warning that now appears is when an employee punches into a job that has an address on it. This shows the distance of where the punch is happening. So it's slightly different from geofencing. You may not have geofencing turned on, and that's okay. This is just indicating where the punch is actually happening, so that you can take a look at or have that information available to you. Next up is actually one of my favorite features because it gives you a better understanding of how our payroll engine works to come up with the final rate. As we all know, prevailing rates are not easy calculations, and there's a lot of different variables that can make up a rate. So being able to see what the rate looks like at each punch is much easier to read than on a payroll register where everything is already combined. All of this information that you see here are the rates that are calculated through eBacon's payroll engine. So starting with the determination rate, that's the actual determination and what the rates that we've received from the state or the federal. And then you go into the middle part and you see overrides. Overrides are going to be anything that you may have added into our system to manipulate that rate. So maybe you have an employee who gets $5 extra just working on this project, or on this particular task. So you may put those overrides in, you may ask your CSR to do that and help you do that. So you'll be able to see that information in the middle part there. And then we move on to the credit information. So if you're taking any credit on your fringes, such as health credit, you're paying a monthly premium for your employees, or training credits, 401k, all of that information will be listed under the credit info there. And then lastly is where we actually get the wage rate from. So again, this could be that the employee's private rate is higher and they're getting paid that private rate of pay. And then we show what the effective fringe cash rate is. In this example, this client is not on any trust, so an employee is getting fringe cash. And you can see based upon the fringe total rate minus all of those credits, that becomes the fringe cash. So again, the reason why we did this is to try to show you while you're approving time, going through, making sure rates look correct to you, and being able to reach out to your CSR if you do need help or if something doesn't look right at this point in time, rather than once you get to your payroll register and you're reviewing things and everything is combined, you're not sure where the rates are actually coming from. Sidewinder bulk add. So this is also was a huge focus for us for this quarter. We were trying to figure out how to speed up Sidewinder. So I'm sure as some of you know that when you go into Sidewinder and you add a punch into the system, as you're adding your time in, your time out, your task, your job, you'll see a little indicator spinning that it's loading, and that was really slowing down the whole process of adding time or editing time. So so now with this is we've added a spreadsheet like button that will allow you to add in multiple punches, multiple employees all at once, and then you can save this spreadsheet and it will import into Sidewinder. If there's any conflicts with punches, you will receive another error that populates that says there's a conflict with this punch and this punch, much like you already have in Sidewinder. But this process really saves time. You're able to tab through each one of these sections and add everything quickly. And then the add edit button is on the employee record itself. So if you already have your employees punching into the system and you just need to audit it and add punches and or edit, it will show you all of their punches for that pay period, and then you're able to make those changes on that screen and save it all at once. So it will make the whole process a lot faster. Next up was the employee notification. So based on feedback that we've heard, one of the most common issues with employees clocking themselves in and out is that they forget. And this can cause a delay in reviewing time by having to track down the information, and also can put some employers at risk by adding time themselves instead of showing that the punch is actually coming from the employee. So for these reasons, we created a missed punch notification that allows you to set up a notification that goes to your employees based off of different groups. So when I say groups, that could be your field employees and or your office employees. They might have different starting times to the day, so you'll be able to set a time to remind them to clock in. So if I were to if my field employees start at 6 a.m., at 6:30 I can, and if that person has not punched, then they'll get a reminder via text message or app notification that they need to clock in for the day. And same thing with the clocking out as well. The nice thing about this is that you can add your own message, so it's completely customizable to what you want to say. I have some clients who have used this already that like to add a note into the employee's punch, so they're able to easily audit and say that I actually meant to punch in at 6 a.m. And that way you auditing, you don't have to go out and reach out to your employee to get that information. Another thing here is that a report can go to the manager each night to show who has received one of these notifications. So again, this helps with the auditing process to have to go back if you need to reach out to an employee because they received that message, so their punch is not accurate and you need to know what time they should have been clocked in or clocked out. And then another issue that's come up often is employees not taking their mandatory lunch for the day. So we've created a lunch reminder that allows you to set up how many hours after the employee clocks in to remind them to take their lunch. Again, with this is customizable, so you can write really any notification message. How it works is that hours after clock in, you can set that to be 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever you'd like. That's customizable, and they receive it via text or app push notification. So now we're going to move out of Sidewinder and onto a couple of items that we wanted to make easier access for clients to control. We have introduced an option for you to manage your annual premiums within Viper, which helps with your fringe credit rate. So right now, the process is you generally give those to your implementation manager when you first start, and then every year at renewal, you send those over, the new rates over to your CSR to input into the system. And now you'll be able to have access to this in the company menu under the certified payroll tab to add those as well. One thing to note here is that on the start and end date, just make sure because it is a benefit, the start dates, your benefits start on the 1st and they end on the last day of the month. So when adding those into the system, just try to make sure to do that, to remember that as well. And then second to this is updating your workers' compensation net rate. So again, this happens annually. If you do not update those, you will get an error on your invoice when you're processing your payroll. So if you have that information, you can set that up, as soon as your renewal happens and put in those new workers' comp net rates into the system. And the final item I wanted to discuss today involves a change in the way you process your payroll that will be happening this quarter. So we've been working on this in Q2, getting it set up, and then we will be releasing this in Q3. Currently, when you post your payroll, your CSRs review the invoice and finalize the payroll. With the upcoming change, now you'll be responsible for giving the final approval on your payroll. This adjustment will expedite your paychecks and your certified payroll reports. And with CSRs not having to go in and finalize each individual payroll, this will allow them to dedicate more time to addressing more critical issues and increase response times. So with this change, we've added a lot more system checks for invoices to make sure that things like taxes, workers' compensation, and benefits are correct. If there are any discrepancies, your CSR will be notified to review your invoice as well. So that is still in there as an indicator for someone to check your invoice if that comes up. We'll also be adding a help button to your payroll screen that will create a case to your CSR. And that is where you can go back and review different notes on this payroll and questions that you've asked your CSR about it, whether it's checking rates or something on the invoice. And there's going to be a lot more information about this being released in the upcoming weeks. So please be on the lookout for a blog post that's coming and an indicator in the screen. So that concludes all the payroll and time and attendance releases. And thank you again for being here.
Awesome, thank you so much, Courtney. And there will be another webinar just specifically around that payroll change as we get closer, and we'll be sending out a pretty lengthy explanation and some more information on how you're going to be able to utilize payroll posting going forward. So can't wait to see that coming down the pipeline. So I'm going to jump in now. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Alex Kramer. I'm the VP of Product Engineering here at eBacon. In this quarter, I spent the vast majority of my time looking over taxes, human resources, and our new job site system. So I'm going to jump into taxes. So it'd be taxes are no one's favorite subject at all, but we've tried to make it far easier, especially for companies that have taxes in multiple, or have employees that move between multiple states, or if an employee moves from state 1 to state 2. Dealing with the different situations on how their SUI is handled, or how their other taxes are handled, or how local taxes are handled. One of the big improvements this quarter has been making it far easier for our system to handle those complicated tax situations. What you would see is a far faster quarter end close on our side, more accurate taxes for state and local and more complicated things. And then employee moving states will now have a much better and more accurate tax calculation going forward. That's already in production. It's been in production through mid Q2. So you have already kind of seen the effects, and if you've had employees move states, you'd probably already see the effects on it properly accounting for where they were living and where they now live too. Jumping into some HR stuff. So one of the biggest requests we had in the system was an easier way to handle offboarding, which we'll talk about later. But actually, one of the biggest requests we had was, with the proliferation of websites and all these different places that employees can have access to, how can I keep track of that without using like a spreadsheet? And available right now is our new site access system. So this allows you to keep track of which websites an employee has access to. So when you hire an employee, you can utilize this screen to, let's say you give them access to Salesforce or HubSpot. You can make a note of that now inside of here. We ask that you do not store any like data such as passwords. We are not a password storage location, but instead this is an opportunity for you to kind of get a list of what they have access to from an IT perspective. And much like you keep track of assets in our system and certifications in our system, this new site access will actually give you a heads up when you terminate an employee that they have access to specific websites. So if you do have, let's say an employee has access to GitHub, like some of our developers do in HubSpot, this system gives us a heads up of like, okay, make sure you're removing these, and then you can then affirmatively know that you've removed those items from the system. And again, that is available today. There's also reports available that you can run so that you can see like across a specific platform, which items you have. And when we talk about onboarding, this will feed into that later. The second big HR feature that we are proud to kind of start rolling out to more general audience is our employee training module. So our employee training module is in kind of a learning management system where you can build your own trainings using our content editor and have your employees do those trainings. So much like an employee can request PTO or do an expense, employees will now have a widget on their dashboard that you can enable if you want to use this platform that shows them all of the different trainings that they have to complete. So you can actually assign trainings to different groups of employees. You can also have timeframes on trainings, such as like, this needs to be done within X number of days from your hire date. And you can actually create learning pathways through the application. So for example, let's say that you have like a 101 class, like this is eBacon 101 is an example we have here. Well, we don't want them to take eBacon 102 until they've completed 101. So you can actually set up these different pathways. So if you do have training programs that you have on paper or you're using PowerPoints for, and you're kind of keeping track of who completed which PowerPoints or who went to which meeting, you can actually put that all into eBacon and start utilizing our platform. Now, one awesome feature of that is that employees don't lose access to it once they've finished their training. You can actually, the employees can actually go back and do that training at any time they want to. So they have like kind of constant access, and you can always reference back to those trainings. When a training is completed, a certification pops up for the employee that they can save. That also goes into the employee's file, so you have a track of which trainings the employees completed. Lastly, we have actually integrated our training platform with our custom forms system. So you can actually use the custom form system inside the training module to create quizzes that the employees actually have to complete. And then the employees can get a grade and a score on those quizzes. And then you can set up different settings such as how many retries and how many did they have to get right. We have a lot of other interesting features coming down the pipeline for employee training in Q3. So I'm going to be excited to show you some of those things. If you want access to employee training, we would love to talk to you. So if you want to email alex@ebacon.com plus your customer service representative, we kind of want to talk through it and show you how to use the system and then get some feedback on how your company needs this tool. Next is employee reviews. So we have the ability today in our system to have different acknowledgements that you create. And those acknowledgements are awesome. You can send out a new handbook, you can send out a document you got acknowledged and all this other stuff. But we've traditionally not had the ability for you to actually create like a review that an employee does either on themselves, or a manager does it for the employee, or the employees do it for all of their employees. So our new employee review system which again, similar to the training modules, is now kind of open for use by the majority of our customers, is going to allow you to create custom questions that you have set up on a schedule. So as you see here, this is actually eBacon's. We have actually a thing where a new hire, 30 days after they get hired, will actually have a 30-day check-in. So the system will notify the employee a few days before the 30-day check-in to come into the system and actually complete that, and they'll send them emails and nag them and like, you gotta finish up. But our engineering team has a 4-month self-evaluation. So on top of, if they got hired, they have a 30-day and 90-day. Every 4 months, for our company, the self-evaluation will go out, and you can have the employee fill that out on a periodic basis. Now, one really powerful feature of the scheduling system is, like for eBacon, we would like them to be employee-driven, right? We have the employee do it themselves. But inside of your company, you might have the manager do it for the employee. So you can actually make that, have that set up as you like to. And one kind of cool thing, one of our early AI features here, as an employee completes that, if you enable the new AI feature, it'll actually summarize that entire employee review and include that summarization inside of the email that goes to you when an employee review is completed. And you can also access that employee review summarization from the employee review itself. So that's a super awesome, helpful feature, which we're kind of proud to show on that side. Offboarding checklist. So since I'm going to probably run out of time here, offboarding checklist will allow you to create custom checklists that you have to complete as you offboard an employee. These checklists allow you to know what has been done and what has not been done. And when you create a checklist, the checklist will actually include all unreturned assets and websites that the employee has access to. As you close those specific items, it will actually mark those as returned or revoked in their relevant systems. And then checklists can be created from the company menu and are not limited to just offboarding. So you can actually use checklists for other stuff inside your business. I'm going to actually probably have another training on this one, since it's a brand new feature that will let everyone here know about also. Scheduling by job. So now if you're utilizing our scheduling system, there's now a new by job button on the top right hand corner. If you click on that by job button, you can actually have the screen kind of pivot. And instead of seeing the employees on the left side, you'll now see that job on the left side. So if you are looking at things on a job level to see who's going to be on the job on that day, or you need to kind of assign work to a specific job, because you can theoretically assign nobody to that work for that job and then see what jobs have needs for the week, right? You can now see that on the by job button, and that is available today. And then 2 last things to kind of touch base on. Updated visual experience. You've probably seen inside of our system a lot of changes to our visuals on the, especially on the employee side. We've spent a lot of time making things feel a lot more coherent. And you can kind of see we've touched a lot of the front end, really trying to make it look a lot better. You can see an example of like the update HSA contributions. This is going to continue into Q3 and Q4 as we continue to kind of make things look a little bit more clear and more streamlined for you. And the last thing I'm going to touch base on the job site. So we are seeking early testers for companies who are looking for some help on taking notes and photos and document storage and task management for their business. So the job site system today is something that your field employees can use on their mobile phone or on an iPad, and they can use that to take notes. And then you actually have a threaded conversation with those notes, so that you can see, like, if I make a note about something happening on the job, other people can make replies to that, and there's notifications and emails, much like any other part of our application. And then we also have a photo and document storage, so that employees on the job site can actually take pictures of things, and much like the notes section, they can take notes on those photos and documents. So you can upload PDFs, you can take pictures. This is a whole new system that we're building to connect that field employee into the back office, but then also give your company new ways to kind of run that field operations. So if you're interested in this product, if your business is looking for something like this or would benefit from something like this, please email me at alex@ebacon.com, and I would love to kind of show it to you a little bit more. Lastly, what's next? One of the things I'm focused on for Q3 is improving our digital signature process. So we're gonna have a much more robust digital signature process inside of our onboarding and self-service. We're making a lot of changes to our Prime platform, including new custom warnings, faster screen loading, and easier subcontractor submissions. And we're gonna continue to develop out job site and adds a lot of really cool new features, including things like labor budgeting and, as I mentioned earlier, like task management. So I'm going to now kick it over to, I'm going to kick this over to Logan. Logan is our product manager for 401k. So Logan, I'm going to let you go.
Hey guys, excited to talk to you about all things 401k. Thanks for kicking it over to me, Alex. So really just want to cover just quickly eBacon and your 401k. So with the advent of Secure Act 1.0, we actually have the ability to do pooled employer plans for the vast majority of our customers for setup. But taking a step back and actually looking at eBacon and how it can service your 401k, what some folks don't know is that our 401k system is actually integrated and included in with all of the rest of the features we offer here at eBacon. So one of the really nice pieces about having our 401k system built the way that it is, and with the advent of Secure Act 1.0, is that the IRS has actually made it really easy for us to set up new 401k plans for folks, to the point where we're able to handle 99% of the administrative tasks that go along with compliance for your 401k. So this means things like signing and filing your 5,500 tax documents now. We're able to provide the bonding and manage the majority of the compliance testing, which is super exciting. And because we're able to do this at scale with the way that the IRS has released new guidelines for Secure Act, we're actually including it as part of the system with everything else. So whether you use our fringe product, our payroll product, or a mixture of all of the above, there's no additional cost today for using the 401k as part of our system. And it's seamlessly integrated. So this is one of the pieces where we actually have the 401k plan integrated into everything we do here. So it means one login, whether or not you're an administrator or a business owner, as well as one login for folks that are logging in to log time, log PTO, anything like that. So it's integrated into everything else we do. Additionally, it's easy to set up during the employee onboarding, and we're able to do the automatic payroll deductions. So there's a lot of benefits with the way that we've been able to set up our 401k system as part of the broader system in eBacon. And we'll touch on this later as part of the technical updates, but if you're brand new to 401k, we're really excited to roll out this new Easy Enroll 401k plan by eBacon, where we've actually established basically all of the stuff that you would need to use for a 401k, where you can set it up out of the box, and most of the stuff has been pre-completed or directed so that it's a super simple sign-up process, and it's already built into the system. If you're an existing customer who's interested in 401k here at eBacon, with the way that we've integrated it, we've actually set up a dedicated rollover and support team over at 401k at eBacon, which is as good as lead-in as any to talk about some of the upcoming features for our 401k. So I mentioned Secure Act 1.0. Like all good things, there obviously has to be a sequel. So the upcoming Secure 2.0 changes are right around the corner. And these are all changes that the team is working on the back end, on the front end, to keep all of the 401k plans in compliance. And there's going to be some really exciting new changes for folks that are interested in it, especially with stuff around auto enrollment, the way that you can do catch-up contributions. If you're a 401k nerd like me, there's a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. And I'm going to be talking about it more on August 29th for those of you who are interested in how there's going to be compliance changes and how it may affect you. Additionally, we've been really excited. The development team's been working with the marketing team as well as our customer service team to revamp the way that we actually have created materials for folks to use for enrolling in 401k. So we've created a 401k basics guide. We've walked through and actually built out a full in-color guide that's going to be up on our website for folks to be able to use to both learn about 401k and to explain 401k to people on the team. So we'll be doing a deeper dive walkthrough on that on August 15th as well to go through that. And then for the uber big 401k nerds like me, we're going to be releasing an unsettled cash display. So for those folks who like to look at the way that all the things flow through the system into 401k, you'll actually be able to watch your money get deposited, sit in a cash position, and then eventually get moved over into some of the pieces around investments. So again, if you're a finance nerd like me, that's a lot of fun and really interesting for some of the reporting that you're going to be able to do. Talking a little more on some of the back end and technical changes before I wrap it up here. Some of the stuff that we've been doing on the back end, and I won't bore folks on the call with a ton of details, but looking at the way that we interact with our vendors for being able to do trades and self-directed brokerage accounts, we've actually been making a lot of back end changes where if you're watching your buys and sells in accounts, those will happen a lot quicker. For a good chunk of folks, it'll be anywhere from 20% to 50% faster. Additionally, for administrators who are looking and comparing 401k statements against the 5500s that we file as part of our pooled employer plan, or we send off to some of the folks with individual plans to sign, those have been updated so that they actually match a little easier to what the IRS gives, so it's easier to keep track of it. And then finally, this final technical piece here, there's this new concept of an easy enroll plan that we've been setting up. So for folks who are brand new to 401k, we've actually gone through and revamped how folks can set up a plan and then forget it in our pooled employer plan that we provide. So for folks who are setting up 401ks for the first time, it basically means that we set it all up and it's out of the box, ready to go with hand holding from folks on the 401k team. So super excited. If you haven't gotten tired of me on the call yet, join in for some of the upcoming webinars to learn more about 401k, and I'll pass it back over to Alex.
Awesome, thank you so much. And we don't have a ton of questions right now, and we're really close to time. So I wanted to just give a heads up if you did have any questions, or if you're interested in anything you see, or you want to tell me that someone did a great job. My email is alex@ebacon.com. Look forward to hearing from everybody. Feel free to reach out to me or any of the other product managers on the team. We're always looking for feedback from our products, and we're always looking for people who want to test new stuff. We build because you're here. We build because you're the kind of most important piece of what we do. So if you have time to talk with us, if you have time to meet with us over any of these products, shoot me a line. Let us talk with you and help improve us. So one last note here: we have another webinar on August 8th about critical knowledge for California contractors. You'll be getting a notification about that just if you want to sign up for it. I did have a and there was a question here saying, how does the app notification for lunch breaks work? So that's a great question. I'm going to just explain this real quick. We recently added the ability for our system to push notifications to the app itself. So when you look at the app, like sometimes if you're like using another app like Google, it will tell you, like, oh, hey, we're tracking your location, or hey, did you go to this place, or something like that, right? That's called an app push. That's a push notification. So in the last like 6 months, we've actually added the ability for our system to send those notifications to the app. Those will pop up on the screen for the employee. Like it'll be like right on the screen. Like if you go right to your home screen for your iPhone or your Android, it will say right there, hey, eBacon app is saying you forgot to clock in, right? We find that those are better than text messages. During the lunch notification process, you can turn on and off if you want to have app or if you want to have text, but we kind of take a hierarchy of app, text, email, because we figure that employees who are on their phone at the job site will look at their phone more. And the other thing on the app notification is if they click on that notification, it will actually bring them directly to their time and attendance app inside of the eBacon app itself. So it kind of just makes things go a little faster there. So there's some more technical things on that side if you have more questions on how that works, like from that other side, you can see, but employees will start seeing more notifications like that as we get along here. And then I might not be able to respond to all of these things. They do not need to be in the app to get the notification. No. So if you're, so long as you're logged into the app, we are sending notifications to that app. So you don't have to you do not have to be like open the app or anything like that. It's just going to show up on the screen regardless. Regarding punches with the overnight punch look change, no, that nothing is changing related to that. So it's easy to forget about what I'm a report or anywhere else. So there was a question here on saying sometimes the setup of a report and job, you kind of do it a little later on. It's easy to forget. So as part of that to do, any job that has to-dos on it will actually show up with a red line when you go to the job setup screen. So you'll see the you'll see on the app that job setup screen anything that's not yet complete and has to-dos on it. So you can use that much like the onboarding system. You can see which employees are not finished with onboarding yet. So you can utilize the job setup screen for that also. So we are at time now. And I apologize that I don't have any more time, but I will take note of any other questions here, or you can send them to me at Alex eBacon. So thank you, everybody, and have a good day.